G'day everyone and welcome back to the Hashtag Kangaroos podcast. Did a different intro. That was one of my older ones, but I remember it was about, I think 6 months ago. Someone said something, and due to copyright infringements, they told me to take the music down. So we'll see what happens this time. Anyways, I'm Dean Vassy. You can find me on X at Hashtag Kangaroos, Instagram, Hashtag Kangaroos podcast. So it's a solo show this Sunday morning as we dissect North Melbourne's heartbreaking loss to Collingwood on Friday night at Marvel Stadium. We'll be doing a mailbag episode going through all of your responses on next after I threw the question out to the North Melbourne faithful yesterday afternoon. Firstly, thanks to everyone who got involved. I didn't put the question up on Instagram this week, so apologies for that. I'm pretty hopeless. I'll make sure I do that next time so everyone gets the chance to have their say. I'll just quickly go through my reaction to the game. This might surprise a few people, but I actually came away more encouraged by this performance than I did during our 3-game winning streak, and even more encouraged than I was after I lost to Port Adelaide. The reason is simple. North's approach looked different. The ball movement was far more proactive. We looked to overlap. We took the game on, and we were prepared to move the ball with purpose rather than slowly chipping around the boundary line, going backwards, sideways. It created more opportunities for our forwards, and while we didn't make the most of every chance, more often than not, those opportunities will be converted. We'll talk a lot more. We'll talk a lot more about that, I'm sure, over the coming days. But look, the game genuinely could have gone either way. You can't help but think that about the what ifs. What if Jack Darling kicks that goal late in the final quarter to put North more than 2 goals in front? Does that break Collingwood's spirit a little bit, or does it become just a bridge too far for them? I'm not too sure. So yeah, it's one of those things. A lot of what ifs. 5-day break. North threw everything at the Magpies, and you wonder whether with an extra day of recovery, the players finished the game a little stronger. Maybe those tackles that just slipped in 9 minutes stick. Maybe we find enough energy for one more contest. Who knows? But we'll never know. But for me, there were far more positives than negatives to come out of Friday night. It was another valuable lesson for this young group. And if they keep producing that brand of football, I still think we'll win a couple more games the rest of the year. I know a lot of people are sort of saying we won't win another game for the rest of the year now. I still think we'll win a couple more, especially if we play that brand of football. The teams we play against are generally around the mark, around our area. And I know Kane Cornes has been quite critical and come in again and said, they're going to pat themselves on the back for a good effort. I don't think that was the case. It didn't seem like it after the game. Clarkson was a little bit disappointed. You could sort of tell he's a little bit flat. And I'm sure the players are as well. But look, we're starting to look. Hopefully, this is the start of a brand that we can identify with and bring an identity for the rest of the year. But that's enough from me. Let's get into your thoughts and see what the North Melbourne supporters had to say on X. So, Patrick Allwood, first off the bat, he came in an hour ago. So, lack of winning experience in the closing minutes against the masters of the close finish. Also, we are very competitive despite not playing anywhere near our best. Also, how good is PC? Yeah, Paul Curtis makes a big difference. But the problem is, every time he lays tackle, he gets a 3-week suspension. Rousseau at Rousseau118, playing 4 quarters of football and able to arrest momentum within quarters. Something we haven't done for a while. Clarko wasn't happy in the presser, which is good. Composure still short of top 4 sides. Hope the side can maintain this form for the rest of the year and pinch 2 more wins. We can only hope so. Rousseau Joe Cosenza. Crazy Joe Cosenza, still treading water. Well, we are, but I'm not too worried about finals, to be honest, this year. I'm not interested in... I just checked the soccer scores, and England beat Norway, unfortunately, 2-1 in the quarterfinals. But, yeah, look, I'm not too worried about... finishing 10th to... Yeah, just the sake of... playing a playing game, which you're probably going to lose anyway. I'm more interested in a long-term approach. We can worry about finals next year. Schimmelboner at Port Canane won. Heartbreaking loss given the effort, but it was great to see them taking the game on and having a red-hot crack. More positive than negative last night for me, I agree with that, will be much better with Wardlaw, Powell, Goda and Archer all playing in this team. We'll certainly miss a few players. Goda had a rest, so you'd have to think he'll come back in. We had, looks like a couple of players may miss next week through concussion. Tom Blamire is the controversial one because Jack Crisp did a worse tackle on Tom Blamire than Paul Curtis did on that West Coast player that got a concussion. So, yeah, it shows the consistency of this AFL and the rabble layer. If any of us did the job as bad as the AFL are doing right now, none of us would have a job. So it's amazing what they get away with. But yeah, Wardlaw, still a couple of weeks away. Tom Powell, I don't know what's going on there. 3 groin strains in the last 3 games he's played. They've got to sort that out. Something's going on there. And Jackson Archer back next year. So, yeah, I mean, for the rest of this year, off for the immediate future, Josh Goda will be back next week. You'd have to think for Blamires. Whitlock looks like he may have sustained a head knock, which may force him to miss a week. But there's a good young kid in the reserves, Ollie Griffin. Isn't he impressive? His defensive half work is very good. He looks like a ready-made AFL player. And once he comes in, he's type of player that could stay in there for a long time. He's got a great work rate for a young kid. I know I've compared him to Zane Dersma, very similar, but I think his defensive side is a lot more advanced anyway than Zane Dersma, and he certainly deserves his opportunity. Hopefully he gets that next week. A bit of excitement, a bit of youth, a bit more youth in the team. Anyways, we'll keep going. Thanks for coming in, Sean Boner. Bookworming at Harry and Monty. Good loss if there is such a thing. Absolutely there is. Something's got to change for Larky. I genuinely think that's the difference, but it was a competitive game and probably where we are in the middle, sticking with the plan. Look, I think the positive for Larky, even though he's missed a lot of chances over the last few weeks, he's had, he had 1 goal 5, so that's 6 scoring shots, 1 goal 2, 3 scoring shots, and 3 goals 4, 7 scoring shots. So that's 16 scoring shots in the last 3 weeks. So he's getting his hands on the football, took 10 marks, and took some really good ones. So that's the positive. His kicking has let him down for goal the last few weeks, but I think he'll get it back. He's generally a very, very good set shot, so I've got confidence, but he did look pretty good the other night. It pushed up the ground a lot more. I'm not a big fan of him pushing outside the 50, to be honest with you. I don't think he makes the greatest decisions sometimes, but look, I understand that's where the game is, and that's where the modern game is, more importantly, so he does have to create space and not just be about him, as there's a hoon. What else is new? There's a hoon right behind me revving the shit out of his car. Anyways, I'm sure you might have heard that in the microphone. I'm not sure. The Master at the Mast 98636613. They didn't win that game. We lost it. Poor skills going forward and didn't take our chances. Oh, look, it could have gone either way. So, look, that's the way it goes. Not too worried about that, to be honest with you. Kanga Boy, not mature enough. Next 2 years will show. But we need some better recruitment to top up. If we had another 2 or 3 Harrys, we would be a side professionally committed to being the best. If we had 2 or 3 Harry Shears in the team, we would win every game, like the AFLW team, so who win every game. It's very rare that you're going to get Harry Shears will come along, and yeah, it would be nice to have 2 or 3 of them, but I'm pretty happy with one. Robert McLeod. Might argue that there was a holding decision not paid against Collingwood in the last 3 minutes of the game. Overall, a conversion rate was disappointing, which ultimately lost us in the past 2 games. Our captain's lost his confidence and it's affecting the whole team. Look, maybe it's affecting 1 or 2. Maybe a couple of them are sort of thinking in their heads that, this guy gets paid so much money to kick goals and he's missing them. All our hard work's getting undone. I'm sure there's a few players. I used to think that when I was playing. So, especially when, they miss simple shots that they should get. So, but that's how it is. And I'm sure he will get it back. For a guy that's kicked over 300 goals in his career, he's got the best conversion rate. Better than Tony Lockett, who I thought was an outstanding set shot kicker goal. He's got, I think it's about 71 or 72%, so which is above the next best. That's kicked over 300 goals in their career. at ese.s.b. Disappointing because we did so much right but lost. We were very competitive, but half the Collingwood side was out. We just have to win that game next year. Absolutely. But we'll worry about next year when it comes. Good, but not good enough to shake the pies hooter yet. Another moment to climb missed. Look, like I said, could have gone either way. Georgie Lanyon at Rugel 18 just did the heartbroken emoji with a little bit of a tear. Look, we're all. That's the way it goes. It could go either way. You're on top of the world and you have a great weekend if you win that game by 4 points. But yeah, it reflects the rest of your weekend, doesn't it, Georgie, when we don't win those games. But thanks for coming in. JT, you've done it again. Played better and more exciting footy than they have in weeks. Should have won, but inaccuracy cost them again. Yeah, missed some chances. And that seems to be a common theme at the moment that I'm getting from this, that, missing some chances. Thanks for coming in, JT. You've done it again, mate. Reece Barker, frustrating as an aside for the Almac has to go. Crowd, I don't think I have seen anyone contain Dacos when he goes a deep forward better than McDonald last night. Just saying. So, yeah, you're obviously defending Luke McDonald. I think you are, Reece. I think that's what you're saying. Look, the good thing about Luke McDonald, he'll give it everything he has. He'll leave nothing out there on the football field. I know a lot of people are frustrated. Even I get frustrated. And I've always said, look, it's time to give other players that have got upside an opportunity now. Luke McDonald adds depth to the team, and he does add a lot of experience to a young group. But, we want to see what Josh Goda's got. We want to see what Riley Hardeman's got. We know what Luke McDonald is as a player. That's not a reflection of him. He's played over 200 games of AFL football. That's a pretty good career. But we want to see Riley Hardeman and Josh Goda. They're the players. We've seen Riley Hardeman come into the team, and he looked very good the other night. He's kicking. It's a thing of beauty. He gets it. He runs 15, 20 metres at good speed, and then he's able to penetrate the kick 60 metres. You've seen that goal he kicked. I know it was a bit of luck. It went over the back of the defenders and forwards, but that's because I don't think people. I honestly think that the players didn't think he could kick that far, so they've gone front of the contest, but the ball just kept going and going. It went over Jeremy Howe. Jeremy Howe's got one of the best leaps in the game, but even he jumped high, but it went past him. So sometimes you got to make your own luck, and he certainly did that. He's got a beautiful kick, so we certainly want to see what Riley Hardeman's got, rather than a Luke McDonald. Nothing against Almac. Andrew at Berminator 13. Enjoyed most things about the game, usual frustrations, but I do not share the view we are anywhere near worthy of a finals wildcard appearance. At least one more year for this to be a reality. I do love our group and think they are on the right but very slow path. And patience is a virtue at the moment. I know it looks like Melbourne, and we've got a big challenge against them coming up. Melbourne, Hawthorn, they've started their rebuild behind us, and they seem to be ahead of us at the moment. So I guess that's a frustrating part, but we're slowly, like you said, it is a very slow path. And it's been up and down, that's for sure. And I mentioned that last week that a lot of things have gone against Alistair Clarkson. When he first started, he had the old racism scandal. He's had players leave, request trades, high draft picks, players do stupid things, have to be sacked. Tara Thomas would have been a prime player for us right now. He's the type of player that the modern game suits, and unfortunately, he's just a dickhead and has cost himself an AFL career. And so, he doesn't deserve another shot. So, so maybe the path's not always linear. The line's not always linear, I should say, and we've had a few ups and downs, and that's just the way it's gone, unfortunately. But next year there'll be no more excuses. Bonds, set shot anguish. Yeah, we certainly left some out there. Thanks for coming in, Bonds. Chris Dimmo played better, but our team lacks the quick run and polish of other teams. Look, and I think that's something we've got to work on. We certainly need to bring in a little bit more speed into the team next year, a little bit more outside run. Darcy Wilson would have been very nice. He's got a very good not so much engine, but he's got very good pace. He would be perfect to come in to the team on that wing, but unfortunately, it probably looks like he may stay from all reports. And it just goes to show, don't believe, I think it was last week, they said, Lockie Ash, North of Melbourne, are going to throw the kitchen sink. Don't believe anything that they're saying, the media, because all of a sudden I don't know where that's come from, but, I don't think that's going to happen. And Jacob Wiedering. There's all these rumours of every player in a competition. Until it happens, don't think too much about it. Don't possession is 9/10 the law. More often than not, players stay at their clubs that they're at. It's just the odd player. So but we certainly do need some outside run. That's for sure. Thanks, Chris Dimmo. Xavier Lyer put it this way: if Clarko gets re-signed this season, it would be a disgrace at every level. I don't think it'll be a disgrace. We need to see what we're seeing on Friday night. I said on Thursday, no way I'd re-sign him based on the football we're playing right now. I don't mind. Like, I don't understand this obsession. It's it's going to unsettle the playing group if I'm out of contract going into my last year. I think players are pretty professional, and they've got to worry about their own career, to be honest with you. So. I don't understand. It doesn't. The only issue I have is if Clarko goes in next year unsigned, he could be the type of coach that just says, I just got to play the veterans. I've got to play Luke McDonald. I've got to play Griffin Logue. Players that he trusts more than young kids. He doesn't want to give because he's thinking of his next contract. So that's the only concern I have. I'd hope he'd be better than that, but I'm not in his shoes, so not sure. Anyways, we'll move forward. Cold shot, another wasted opportunity to get a return on effort. Look, it seems to be, like I said, a common theme that a lot of people have sort of said that an inaccuracy in front of goals probably hurt us. The Kangaroo, no one to blame but ourselves. Yep, fair enough. Piercy, realistically, that's the end of our season. The bubble of optimism has definitely popped in regards to a possible finals appearance. Bring on 2027. Piercy, we've still got the AFLW that's going to be starting pretty soon. So get behind those girls, more importantly. But don't worry about finals appearances. Just look for progression with the way we're playing, the style we're playing. I remember I went to, it was over 20 years ago, and I can't remember the assistant coach's name. And it was the end of year B and F, and I just spoke to him, and I went and spoke to him, and I said, what do you do here? He goes, do this, do that. I said, I want to educate myself on watching the game a little bit better, and what do you watch for? And I sort of asked him that question. And he said, don't watch the ball. If the ball's in the forward half, watch what the defender's doing. See how the team is set up. If the ball's in our back line, watch what the forward's doing. If they're pressing up, if the ball comes to the middle, what are they doing? Are they applying defensive pressure? It was actually a really good way to look at football. And I think, sometimes watching AFLW, I do that because it's on a suburban ground like Arden Street. You've got that opportunity. You just walk over. Generally speaking, the ball's always in our forward line. But the backs are very disciplined. So I know I'm going off as a subject and on tangent here, but the backs are very disciplined. They'll like Jazz Ferguson's very good. Sarah Wright was very good too when she was playing. That they talk to each other, communicate to each other how they want to set up. We don't want to get goals out the back. I'm just going to drop here. You go over there. You stay 5 metres off this player. All right, protect that space over. It was very good, and you can hear it too because they're very vocal. So so I'm more worried about how we're playing and how we're looking. Going forward, have we got a brand? Have we got an identity? Have we got a method system that will take us forward for years to come? So don't worry about finals this year. The finals will come probably next year and onwards. Anyways, just thought I'd mention that. PC Mark Robinson. As a Pies fan, I think the Kangas aren't too far away. We'll play finals next year, barring injuries. They will learn a lot from this year and be better for it. Still make a lot of mistakes, but the difference between the best and worst has narrowed. Freo aberration notwithstanding. No, thanks for coming in, Mark. I don't mind seeing other supporters come into the chat and have a a civil discussion about things like that. And he makes some very good points. Maybe the Freo game was an aberration, and everything else is more of what we're in line for. The worry for me was after the Freo game, or probably after the first quarter, we completely went in our shells, and it really looked like it affected us for the next month. Instead of sort of worrying a bit. And look, maybe it's not the coaches, maybe it is the players out there, but yeah, it was very reactive football. So after that first quarter, and it's been it, and it wasn't. It was tough for a tough month. Lucky we didn't have great opposition. We were able to bounce back against pretty ordinary teams. But it would have been interesting to see how we reacted if we, let's say the next week we did over Collingwood. Would we have played like we did Friday night? I don't think we would have. So yeah, it's hopefully that's a sign of maturity that we are going forward. But thanks for coming in, Robbo. JR, give it a crack, but poor execution let us down. Still love the Roos, and I know we've improved and have high hopes for the future. Good on you, JR. Mark, you notice in the last 5 minutes, effing Nick Dacos didn't man a mark and was arguing with umpire complaining about being held. Should have been 50. We don't know how to win, but sure as hell find a way to lose. Look, that's whole North Melbourne experience. You've got to embrace it. We're never going to make things easy, and we probably do find different ways of losing games. Look, we're the only team that's lost a game through an interchange infringement, but that's all part of it. There was against Sydney a few years ago now. I think there was about 40 seconds left, and we used one too many interchange players when Brett Ratton was coaching us while Clarko was going through his sabbatical. So, yeah, that's all part of North Melbourne experiences, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Ryan Law, much more watchable game style. We really need to get Cobble back into form. Disappointing vets didn't execute at the big moments. Did end up being the difference. Yeah, probably was. But that's the way it goes. It's all about lessons you learn. Even for the veterans, they're still learning. Just because you're over 28 and played over 200 games doesn't mean you've got the game inside and out. They're still learning each week as well. So, yeah. Connor Ramsey, not good enough. Was there to win. Anyone happy with another honourable loss at kidding themselves? Look, I don't think anyone's happy. I'm more optimistic. I wasn't totally happy. I was happier with the way we played. I was more optimistic going forward after Friday night. Marvin, kick straight, we win. Shank shots from 30 out. The players are paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to kick. We lose. Simple. Would have made a difference, but fair enough. Thanks for coming in, Marvin. Flag North, fine. If we play an attacking brand of football from the first bounce, we'll be a premiership contender sooner rather than later. Oh, definitely. That's how the game is. You gotta be proactive in your approach. If you want to compete, you look at Fremantle. Not one goal in the first half on the weekend, and they kicked 100 points in the second half. They backed themselves in. They missed some shots, but I think the message would have been simple. They would have said, no, just keep doing what you're doing. We stick to our brand. We stick to our system. We don't change anything. And the scores will come. And they came in the bundles in the end. And they're clear premiership favourites right now. Down under, bro. About where we are, middle of the road. Yeah, definitely. A definite improvement of past years. Still have some major blips with that 124-point loss, etc. Look, you're never going to have a season where you're going to be competitive in every game, win every game, or anything like that. There's going to be some bad games in there, and that's just part of a growing group, and we've certainly had some bad games over the last 6-7 years. Geth Senator, sick of losing. We need to win, but clearly lack skill. Collingwood were poor, and we failed to capitalise. I think that's a discredit to Collingwood. They're a hard contested, tough team. They always have been. They lose players. Another player comes in and he plays a role perfectly. So I think that's a bit of a discredit to Collingwood. Yeah, I mean they've got their flaws, but they've got Nick Dacos. He goes all right. Chris, was a good performance. That's the style of play they need to build on. Bit of work to do with opposition transition from our forward line, but lots of positives. Poor kicking for goal may have been difference in the end. No, I think if we kick a couple, Jack Darling probably kicks that goal in the last quarter where he misses, it probably would have been enough to hang on. But that's how it is. None. Should have won another win, left on the table. Season over. Whitlock was completely out of his depth. Hardiman was great, hopefully cemented their spot. I think McDonald needs to go 50-50 on Spargo. I think Whitlock grew into the game. That last thing he did where he got